session today, and this is Sunday. We have Dave Clark, who's going to be doing a session on the art of asserting. So without any further ado, I'm going to turn the mat over to you.
It's already been a good morning. Love a small class. Want to share a couple things before we launch in here. First of all, I feel very fortunate. I know I'm very fortunate, and I want to thank Sensei Kirby for allowing me to be the bookends on this weekend, and open with multiple technique flow, and now close with this street kata, the art of asserting. Also want to say that when we talk about the end, it has a lot of meanings, but the bottom line is, if you look at Stephen Covey's 7 notions, one of them is begin with the end in mind. And my topic, street kata, the art of asserting, what we're going to do today is do just that. We're going to begin with the end. We're going to start with the ultimate asserting technique. And we're going to have some fun with it. Some people think that the end justifies the means in a number of situations. Other people think that the means justifies the end. I think that the end can justify being mean. And that's what this is about. Okay? So what we're going to do is start with the very last technique and put it first. To demonstrate what I mean, I need a volunteer, but I got to take Logan out of this because I think he'll be able to jump in here. I need a person who can stay with me on this, okay? A little verbal jujitsu. I need to be able to have you tell me, what are you doing the day after the day before tomorrow? And is that the same as the day before the day after tomorrow? Who has that answer? That's the person I want as my volunteer. Okay, let's start with the day after the day before tomorrow. The day before tomorrow is tomorrow, and the day after, no, the day before the day after tomorrow, okay? The day after tomorrow is 2 days from now, and the day before that is tomorrow, okay? The day before the day after tomorrow, that's 2 days from now. The day after the day before tomorrow is today, and the day after that is tomorrow. So they're both tomorrow. You with me? If you're not, you can watch the video and figure it out, okay? I used this ploy in high school. It got me a lot of dates with girls I didn't belong dating. But it was great when you went up and said, what are you doing the day after the day before tomorrow? And be careful how you answer, because it might be the same as the day before the day after tomorrow. It was a great icebreaker. So, now that I've given you the answer, anybody but Logan may volunteer. Okay, thank you. And it was funny because I was thinking when I do this, I'm looking at who's here, and I said, Byron's going to be the one who comes up. The ultimate asserting technique. I need you to stand over here. Okay, what the heck is going on out here? Daggum. Logan, would you look and see? I'm serious. Look, look. Is that a raccoon?
Sure. Some kind of armadillo?
I don't know. I don't know. This guy's good. He's really good. He's really good. I cannot tell you how many times.
That's a Texas raccoon.
Yeehaw! Must be one of my relatives.
The long empty tail.
The jackalope.
3rd degree black belt. Yes, yes. He knows more than his prayers. I have more fun with getting people to move and give me the ultimate asserting technique.
So we'll do it.
Isn't that your car that just went by? Don't worry about that. Okay. I love the raccoon thing. Everybody has a raccoon is a raccoon. Okay. But what happens is they turn their head. And when they turn their head, they give you a knockout punch. okay? And the knockout punch, don't deliver it the way I attempted to in middle school. Whang, okay? I still have a bump right here where I broke my knuckle. His face was fine, my knuckle wasn't. 6 weeks before a piano competition. Yeah, what an idiot I was. Anyways, when you do this, this is a hard piece of equipment on this guy. Heel palm or elbow. But what you're aiming for is the chin. If you hit here, you're going to jar his brain pretty well. If you hit here, you're more likely to knock out. So I would aim for out here as opposed to in here. If I feel like I have that kind of control and that kind of option. And with the elbow, I'm stepping through, yelling, and hitting solid right here. Logan got me yesterday with a nice knife hand, rocked my world. Or out here, if I want to improve my odds of knocking him out. His brain sloshes, okay? The verbal jiu-jitsu we did with the day after, the day before tomorrow, and all the rest of that is a fun little thing to make your mind kind of do some somersaults. The raccoon is a simple, quick diversion that gets them to turn their head. Doesn't get third-degree black belts to turn their head. And I figured Logan was already in on this because he's heard me teach this class more. Yeah, I've taught this class a couple dozen times. So anyways, thank you for being a challenging volunteer.
Oh, that's good.
And what I'd like to do is just go over a couple aspects of this. So thank you. First of all, knocking somebody out's not a good idea. Okay, it means you've failed at talking and your way out of it, and it also means you've failed at running and just not being there, which is a wonderful martial arts principle. However, that said, sometimes the end justifies being mean, and streets, as Michael's already pointed out this morning, are not the dojo. And because of that, there are definite times when you have to be assertive. You have to be the one who hits first. You have to be the one who finishes it. And so you have the end, and I don't want to use the word game, because game and martial arts don't go together. That's one of the things I really, really don't like to hear. And I won't mention other martial arts by name, but I hear, you know, how's your ground game? It's not a game. You know, how's your stand-up game? It's not a game. But end game is a term you hear a lot. This is an ender, and it's certainly going to assert your dominance. But the problem is, you knock somebody out, you're probably going to have a lawsuit, and that secondary impact, and we had this case happen just this last year in Florida. Somebody hit somebody, didn't hit them that hard, but they lost their balance, fell down, hit their head on a curb. It killed them. Now the guy's murder. And he didn't hit him that hard. So that is a serious concern. You have to be certain that the situation warrants it, which to my mind, life and death, and nothing short of that. I'm not going to try to knock somebody out just because there's disagreements going on at a party. Okay, so some of my favorite distraction lines that I've written down is to, whoa, what is that doing here? Okay. What is that your friend's carrying? Hey, is that your car over there? Like I would even know what kind of car they drive. And then I mentioned, what's a raccoon doing here? You're always looking over their shoulder so they turn their head. And I think my all-time favorite is just before a gun takeaway. Is your safety on? Yeah. Okay. So now what we're going to do is do what we do in class sometimes, and that's just have somebody take a card. You helped me out earlier. Take a card, okay? See which one you took. There's no rhyme or reason order to this. And what he's selected is how to keep hitting, interestingly enough, using multiple strike techniques. Multiple strike techniques. First of all, there seems to be among a lot of martial artists the notion that you have the ability, even as a white belt, because you learned a kill technique, that you can take somebody out with one strike. Not likely. Even if you think you can collapse their larynx with that white belt technique, okay? You're likely going to have to continue with more than just that. As fast as confrontations can be over, you mentioned yesterday, Mr. Kirby, Sensei Kirby, that you know, real life situations are often over in 4 or 5 seconds. It usually involves more than one strike. So that's where multiple strikes come in. The other situation is if you're dealing with somebody who's drugged up, they don't even know they got hit. The strikes can be delivered a multitude of ways, and we know about pressure points. We know about all the different sensitive spots on the body, joint locks, takedowns, throws, grappling, and so forth and so on. One of the things that happens, and it's interesting because the street confrontations I've been in were all before I got my training. Since I've had my training, I've had no street confrontations at all, nothing even close. But it's amazing how many I had before I got training. Adrenaline does truly supercharge your body, because I found that I left the confrontations ready for more, even if I got seriously injured. I had so much adrenaline going through my body, and I didn't feel pain. During my karate black belt test, I had several injuries when we were doing multiple person randori. Okay, we had 2 attackers coming at us for a period of about 5 minutes in the testing. And it wasn't until the testing was completely over and we'd gone through 2 other segments of the testing before I sat down and realized I had a massive contusion on my left arm, okay, and a hematoma on my knee. And it's like, don't even know how they happened or when they happened or how they happened, because I was supercharged with adrenaline. Guess what? Your opponent is too. So you're delivering what you think is pain. He might not even feel it. He might not even know it happened. So you keep on striking. You need to know when to stop. You need to know when to stop on the street, because it's very easy once you get going and get supercharged for you to be the assailant if you aren't paying attention to the fact that the person says, I give up, I'm done, please stop, or yeah, okay? So that's a very important consideration. The only exception to that is a life and death situation. And we see it in movies all the time. The perpetrator is almost gone, but then somehow comes back out of the bathtub and reattacks, or comes up from having been shot twice in the chest and comes back and still has more life in him. If somebody's in your home, you want to make sure that they are totally completely incapacitated before you let up. I don't know what you have in California, but in Florida we say if you have somebody in your fenced yard, you do it out there and then drag them in your house. Yeah. Okay. So multiple technique flow is what we've already done previously to address the whole idea of keeping on hitting. But one other way that we talk about keeping on hitting is what we call rolling thunder. I'm just going to demonstrate some of that right now. So Logan, have you come up here? We're like so, and he goes ahead and he throws across. I do this right here, and what happens is when I hit, you want to back up. When I hit, I don't hit once and then say I'm going to go this, that, and the next thing. It's hey, 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 and it just keeps coming. Okay, I'm controlling all the time. They don't have time, and the hits are just keeping on coming. If he wants to move his head, hey, 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 it's not that hard to follow his head. If he wants to duck and tuck. So we call that rolling thunder. If we want to use fists, I'm not going to probably put my fist to his face. I had to learn that one the hard way in middle school. So I'm using soft tissue or softer tissue. I wouldn't do this to a really big guy. Michael, you brought up a really good point, and we'll talk about this later, that punches here to a really big guy, not going to do that much. Talk about not feeling what you're doing. It's going to be like worthless, just about. So more likely to use a rolling thunder and use heel palms on that. Okay, good. Thank you, Lou. Before we continue, I'll be referring sometimes to the randori charts, and I'll just mention back here, you guys get a chance to take a look. We've got 6 pages of attacks. We human beings seem to have a lot of ways to inflict damage on each other. And I'll lay these out on a table that is fixed in our dojo, and the students will come by and pick 2 attacks, and then come right around in a circle and attack the next person with their 2 chosen attacks, and we have an endless circle. It just goes on for randori until we call an end to it. So they might use an attack like being pulled backward in an overhead club. They might use a palmed knife stab, and then hold an attack. And so this way they don't have to think or let their imagination go. This does that thinking for them. I believe there's 104 attacks we've got here. Openers and finishers, these are items that we really can't bring to completion, and we're not going to practice in the dojo, but they're still out there: spitting, biting, and shark bites. We mentioned those just earlier this weekend. And then neck cranks, not a good idea to take those to completion. Larynx press. So we got openers and finishers over here. We also do karate, and have karate segments and teach karate forms. So these are the different strikes in karate. And then we also do boxing, and these are all the different boxing techniques. So this way they can take any of these and include them in their randori attacks. Down here we've got Ultimate Fighting Championship rules, and this is all a page and a half of rules of things they're not allowed to do in UFC, which is why we tend to not spend much time looking at it ourselves with our training. And I have a note down here that says these rules protect the fighters, extend the time length of bouts, and create artificial combat. In the name of safety and audience excitement, reality is compromised. True self-defense rules follow the laws of our government, not the laws of a gaming organization designed to both generate and maximize profit. Anyways, that's something that we use to get as close as we can to street situations in our dojo. Pick another one. Go ahead, Hal. How to sidestep. Interesting how if somebody charges straight at a student who hasn't had much training, the first thing they do is back up. A boxer, professional boxer, will back up 1 step, but you generally don't see them backing up. You see them going in a circle. And sidestepping is what you want to teach your students to deal with somebody who's, for example, rolling thunder. You can sidestep out of it a lot more effectively than just about any other technique. So what we're going to do is a little sidestep practice with the wall behind you. You can't back up, and have people use various attacks and get used to the whole sidestep concept. I think we've all done this one time or another. It would be a good review, because we're going to not only do sidestep, but we're going to also add some things to it. Counter, okay? And so I'll give you an example. Logan, I'll use you again as an example. I'm up against the wall. I can't back up. Logan comes at me with a technique. I come out the side, okay? Just straight out the side. Once I do that, height, if I'm close enough for a knee, height, if I'm close enough for a kick, okay? And then I will also be able to counter, because I haven't gone diagonally, I've gone out the side. But my next step can be diagonal if I choose. So we're like so, he punches, I parry, go out this side, height, same thing. We'll be doing a chop kick a little later, and we'll also be following up with some other techniques. So is that something that everybody already pretty much has in their repertoire? You want to give this a go for a little bit? Step outside? Okay, let's go ahead. Put the wall behind you, and How to sharpen reflexes, defending against random attacks. Standing at a bus stop, and you're having a nice one of those mocha frappuccino things with 18 names from the Starbucks, and it's a cold evening, and all of a sudden your drink flies off in this direction. You realize you've been hit, and any dental work that's loose in your mouth flies with your coffee and lands over there on the street, and all of a sudden you've just been blindsided. Been blindsided once? Anybody in here been blindsided? Yeah, and the bottom line is, regardless of training, the first guy I trained with as a fifth degree black belt who had 4 black belts at the time, and I used to say, ladies, somebody's grandmother's going to get ticked off by you, and I'm going to read about you in the paper because she will have beat you to death with her umbrella successfully. She catch you right upside the head. Anyways, the long story is that a random attack can happen to anybody, especially somebody who wants to do it without your perception. These sharp reflexes can be developed, and once developed, they can be maintained. The whole concept with reflexes is an awareness thing. It's got nothing to do with paranoia. Since my training, I handle a lot of situations differently, and I don't think I feel any kind of paranoid. I feel more comfortable. I get out of my car at Walmart, daylight or evening, doesn't matter. I'm walking into the store. I'm just aware of my surroundings. I go out at night to do something outside. I flip on the light switch. Before I step out, I just do a 1-2 either direction. Somebody be up against the wall. So those kinds of things can minimize the chance of a random attack. Anyways, what we're going to do is a kind of a pause attack drill. And I love this one. The students in our dojo like this one a lot. What we're going to do is set you up with a training partner, and then I'm just going to count to 10. And any time in those 10 seconds, you can send in a lunging back fist at your partner. They don't know which of those 10 seconds it's coming. Okay? And I want you to do this one fast enough to be effective, to have landed it. Of course, you're going to pull it. But so it's not the slow that we were doing with the multiple technique flow. Okay? The idea is for you to be able to build up reflexes in you and your students. So if you want to go ahead, we don't need a wall for this one. If you want to just stand and face each other.
Can we see an example right there?
Lunging back fist, sure. Lunging back fist is something that we'll be using against a really big aggressor. This would be perfectly appropriate. Okay, we're in our tachiwazas. Talking hasn't worked. Running hasn't worked. Okay, and what I'm going to be doing is this right. Hey! Okay. Now I'm stepping into his jab hand. So if I want, and I'm this far back, okay, I really can't land a kick from here. And we're really not in fighting distance, not till we get toe to toe. Okay, so what I can do if I'm further back is right here on the back of his hand. Hey! Very effective against someone who you want to distract. Hey! And then come in with rolling thunder. Okay? But lunging back fist right here. Hey! Might trap and land. Okay? He doesn't know when I'm going to do this. So 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Hey! Okay? That's the idea. We'll do several attacks this way. So you're just on point. That's what it amounts to. Okay? Go ahead. Lunging back fist. The lunging back fist is not an uncommon technique on the street. So uki becomes tori, tori becomes uki. Here we go. Lunging back fist. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. Okay? Cross punch, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Kick, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Any one technique of your choice, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. Clever, clever. Get that one on video. Any one technique with the defender turned sideways. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Any combined techniques, any combination of techniques with the defender turned sideways. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. And face each other again, please. Any combination of techniques, high-low, 2 highs, 2 lows, any combination, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. Okay. We're doing this just as an example here, but if you do this for a good solid 10 minutes in your dojo, everybody's involved, and they come out of there and they're like, they're very edgy. Yeah. So, yeah. All right. Great. How to defend against a really big aggressor. The card Logan's pulled out. Staying out of reach, attacking his weapons, attacking his vulnerable areas. The first advice on big guys and fighting big guys is just don't fight big guys. You'd be better at talking and be better at running, okay? When that is impossible, and that has happened any number of times in my life, a fight is unavoidable. You want to stay out of reach. The idea is quite simple. You want to avoid being hit. You want to avoid being grabbed by moving around, staying mobile. So I mentioned earlier and already demonstrated using a full power snapping back fist on the back of his jab hand as a way to attack his closest weapon. Duck under a punch and block outward to punch or chop his bicep. Like this one a lot. Logan, come here, please. We were talking about this yesterday. Okay? We're like, so I hit the snapping back fist right here. Hit that really hard. You can break bones in here. It's entirely possible. Okay? The guy has a hand now that's broken, and he's going to lose a little bit of his fight if the first thing that happens, he's got that jab hand. Hey! You hit that thing as hard as you can and hit through. Okay? Anyways, we've got this right here. Say I do that. Say he's still got fight in him. He comes in and he hits across. Hey! Hey! And I come in here like this. And what I'm doing is a hammer fist, or I can use this part of my arm right here on his bicep. And when I hit through, hey! It's, hey! Hit through. It's not just hit to. And the idea is, I'm really attempting to break his arm. I'm not going to, but I'm certainly going to leave his bicep in an entirely different condition than before my strike got there. And I'm attacking his weapon. That arm's not out of play completely. That hand's not out of play completely. But there's a lot of mojo that's gone in this really big guy. Okay? We talk about somebody's got a knife, how important it is to attack the weapon and get that knife from them. Here what we're doing is attacking his weapons, his fist, his arms. Okay, so I'd like to work the snapping back fist on the back of the hand and also the block. Hey! On this, and hammer fist or this, whichever you like. Try them both. Do them several times, and then we'll go ahead and go on to some other techniques against really big guys. Okay? We're going to go to the next two. Okay? And what we're going to do here is he sends that cross in, I let it come, and then I parry it, okay? At this point, what I'm going to do is the same thing that I was going to do. But now it's going to be raking his face, his eyes, okay? Just like this right here. I'm not going for an eye punch, an eye gouge. I'm just going to rake down like this, okay? If I parry, and he was in, and I parry with this hand, then I have the option of doing the same thing to his triceps that we just did to the bicep, and that is a hammer fist, or if you prefer this. I prefer the bone myself. There's a little bit of meat here, and even when I make a fist, it's pretty hard, but this is harder still. And I'm not concerned about breaking my own arm on the back of his soft, fleshy, hey! Okay? So, either, all muscles are soft and fleshy. Doesn't matter how ripped and cut you are. Okay, so if I parry with my left, I claw his face. If I parry with my right, hey! Come in on that tricep, okay? How to fight a big guy, okay? So, we're going to turn him into a big baby if we can, all right? These are things I wouldn't want done to me by a 10-year-old. Sensei Kirby came to Orlando several years back, and we thought, great, we get to hang with Sensei Kirby and learn a lot more. We don't have to fly to California to do it. And he was teaching a technique that at that seminar that I had, by coincidence, been teaching my students that morning before the seminar in our own jiu-jitsu class. And that is, we're like so, he comes in with this right here, and instead of chopping this, come right up underneath the armpit and just rock their world. It's definitely jars. You got any other comments to add to this delightful technique? Yeah. And Sensei Kirby saying, with a whole smorgasbord here, why would I stop here? Great point. Okay.
It's the appetizer before the main course.
If he sends a kick in, and you catch that kick, go ahead, come on. And you can come in with your elbow right here, just above his knee. Hey! And that's similar to the chop kick that we'll be doing a little later, okay? He's likely going to be hopping around on that leg if he still stays standing, okay? And again, you're not using necessarily the tip. You're using the back of your elbow, but you're coming down on just above the knee. Be careful to hit above the knee, not the kneecap, and you will stun. And the shock on that is numbing pain when it's delivered. Anybody ever here been chop kicked in sparring?
Yes.
Yeah. It'll take some of the fight out of you, just a little bit, yeah, or a lot of the fight out of you. Okay. So let's go ahead and practice that one, and then the other one you can practice right behind it if you'd like is this typical big guy thing where he's managed to get a hold of me. Okay. If his arm is bent like this, I'm simply going to do something like this. Hey! And the tewaza that we've done, where I don't need to use my hands to grab. I can come up underneath here like this and just go ahead. And I can keep running that knee in and take him back. Headbutt, we're close in. If his arm is straight and he's got this, I don't know why somebody would want to do this, okay? Usually if they're going to do that, they're going to draw you in. But if he's somehow going here, then, hey! I come up and Sara his arm. And the idea on this is to either hyperextend or break backwards, okay? You mentioned yesterday how little weight it takes to hyperextend, little pressure it takes to hyperextend an elbow. So on this, you've got close in, this with a knee strike and headbutt, and this right here, hey! Coming up like so. Now, if you do this, his fist is likely to come right up into your jaw. You hit it hard enough, okay? So you might also consider this, and that is coming up at the same time. The problem is that this right here is in a field of vision, and I'd rather do this and kind of move my head back so that this comes up, it doesn't hit me. I'd rather not move this if I don't have to, unless I want to use it as a distraction. Don't do anything, okay? And wiggle it as a distraction. I bring it up like this. I feel like he's going to have another place he can see movement on me. Here, I'm outside. Here, I'm inside. I like techniques that come in from the outside. We'll be doing that soon. So those two techniques. Off the kick. Hey! Hey! And the grab. Short and long. Okay? Good. You'll notice what's missing here and what I don't recommend for fighting a really big guy, and that is hits to the midsection and hits to the face. Couple things. Number one, it puts me inside, okay? And I just don't want to be inside on a big guy if I can avoid it. So if I can do these other things, I want to practice those as go-to. If I find myself inside on a big guy, okay, I'm going to do everything I can with all the skill sets I've got. I just know that my chances of success go down. How much? Pick a percentage. Who's to say? So I'm fighting somebody like Michael back there. I'm not going to go to his face or his midsection if I can use these other techniques and direct traffic myself. Okay? Okay. We need another card. Front kick, offense, and defense. We mentioned this earlier. Round kicks are great if you are situationally set to deliver them. And the basic notion on kicking, constantly remind people in class when they're going through forms and also in their randori, is when you're kicking, people have a tendency to walk sometimes like this, so they're going to do their front kick like this. I encourage people to have your feet facing the direction you're going to kick when you do front snap kicks, okay, when you do Gary kicks. And when you do round kicks, your foot goes perpendicular to the target. If you're doing a back kick, hi! That's a side kick. Back kick, same thing. Step, hi! What you're doing is turning the foot further back. Obviously, if I'm fighting somebody and I want to do a back kick, unless I've got a heck of a combination going up here, I'm not going to then turn all the way around and get off balance slightly and so forth to deliver this. That's just not going to happen, okay? But there are times when and it's a great way to introduce this with a kick is to go ahead and do a step back kick where we come in and then do this, okay? Now, using heavy bags for practice is a great idea. All we're talking about here is just a straight front kick offense, not round kicks. And so what we're doing here is saying the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line, and there it is, okay? And I mentioned earlier about the legs being a vortex and being able to land. If you're up against a really tough female, you say, well, you know, crotch kicks don't work on ladies. Not true, okay? You've still got the shock, and you've still got the possibility of breaking a pelvic bone. And in some ways, because of the nature, they're more susceptible to a broken pelvic bone than we are, with a solid kick to the groin that involves letting this part of our leg make that contact. So what we're going to recommend here is that you use these like long-range artillery. And I mentioned this earlier. When we're here, I can reach them with a kick, but I really can't get in on a punch very well. I'd have to step or slide to get in, okay? When we're toe-to-toe, and in our testing and in our randori, we encourage toe-to-toe, even, okay? Not toe-to-toe like touching, toe-to-toe even, so that now punches and kicks can land, okay? So you can use this in close with a front kick offense, keep him back, or you can use this back here with the idea of keeping him at a distance. It's kind of the equivalent of my jab hand is out here, and if I have it in here, I'm giving him space to come toward me. But if I've got it out here, I'm claiming that space, okay? Now, I want to plant an idea in your mind. This is my jab hand, and it's for fishing and creating distractions so I can land my cross, okay? And this is my jab foot, and this is my cross foot, okay? So what's happening is this front foot right here might not deliver a whole lot, but I can use it to just to get him thinking low and then come in high, okay? So it's not just all groin, but I can use it just to move it, just put it up, just get him thinking, oh, something's going on down there. I don't even have to send it out and then go high. So the concept that we're constantly using here is high, low, high, where we use simple reverse psychology. If I want to get in a good kick, my sensei used to do this to me all the time. He'd get going like this right here. Next thing I knew, bang, right there, right in the kidney. And it's like, I should have known that was coming because I just experienced a combination up here, okay? So what I want you to do is use some techniques up high and then use the front leg, not the back leg, use to go ahead and defend. And after you've done that, use some techniques up high because you've got him distracted and you can land that back leg. Now, if he's turned like this and I go to use this, I don't have an angle. And again, this is something you'll see your students do. If he's turned this way and we've got a mirror stance, okay, instead of a match stance, now that back leg is what I can take in there. So my combination's like so and then whang, okay? But I'm not going to just stand here and try to fire that back leg in. He's going to see it coming a mile away. This leg is going to telegraph on its way in. He's going to close up, turn, or hit me really hard. Okay? This is too far back. This is the one that can get there before he can do a whole lot about it. Okay? With me? A lot of information. Let's go back and forth on this. Had the pleasure of working with the assistant at my first dojo. He was an 8th degree black belt, and an interesting psychological study. But I learned a lot from him when I just get around him and shut up and listen to his conversations. And one of the things that he taught me early on that said you can learn a lot from this guy. He used to say, look, I'm not going to punch you in your knees, so why am I going to kick you in your head? And that really resonated with me, because I was thrilled that, with karate, I can get that kick up there and, kick you in the face. Yeah, but why would you want to do it? One of the other guys in our dojo was really good with kicks. He's a 3rd degree black belt, and we hadn't sparred ever. And I was about 3 years in, and so it came up that, hey, you guys have never sparred. Go ahead and spar. He wanted to kick, and he wanted to kick high. And time and again, I could catch his kicks. And time and again, I'd have that look on my face like, you're going down. He could punch me before I could see it coming. He tore me up with his fists. But his kicks were, I don't know, easy for me to spot. If somebody was judging this, I lost big time because of his fist. But I balanced it out a little bit by catching his kicks and putting them on his rear end. The concept is simple. When you use these front leg kicks, use them like distractions. Use them to be a pain. And if you can get a good solid groin kick, great. But keep in mind something else. There are people out there who can withstand the pain of a groin kick. Most of them have nicknames. Okay? But they can do it. You go, man, I would have doubled over and headed for the other side of the country with what just happened. Not to them. They just look at you like, yeah, okay, you're going down. So there are no 100% techniques. I'm preaching to the choir on that one. We're getting down here. Byron, grab one, please. How to hit first and doing this legally. This is a tough one because it goes against everything in us. When I got my karate black belt and learned about the concept of traditional Japanese Jiu-Jitsu, one of the things that fascinated me was that Jiu-Jitsu would allow me to cause pain without injury, hence fights without lawsuits, pain with injury if I ratcheted it up, and much worse. It ran the gamut. With karate, I felt like my choices were, block and hit, or kick. So it involves striking, and striking by its nature is more likely to be injurious, especially the way we were taught. So it goes against the whole concept of talk your way out, run your way out. And that's live to be around another day. Don't fight unless you have to. There are times when you got to hit first if you're going to be effective on the street. And so the idea is to recognize that fact, know what those situations are, and think them out beforehand. So that when you do this, it's not your ego, it's not something else, it's not something situational that has you bothered. It's reality that you're embracing. So the fine line between defending yourself and assaulting someone is what you've got to be walking, okay? If you're using respectful words, it's going to allow you to keep your element of surprise and also a respectful demeanor. Well, that's natural for all of us, and the further we get in our training, the more natural that seems to be. Saying something like, I'm going to kick you so hard you're going to be wearing your ass for a hat is not, is not respectful. And you might feel like, well, I got that one in on you. But right then, what you've got is a situation where he's on point. He's warned. Because you don't have your peaceful demeanor. You've got a confrontation of words, a war of words going on. And it's a short step from there to physical confrontation. So, some indication to harm me is what I'm looking for. And preferably with witnesses. And that's another whole topic we won't go into right now. Ugly words 5 feet away, so what? It doesn't matter. If he gets in closer and is saying things like, I'm going to kill you, I'm going to F you up, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, that's when I'm going to say, okay, I haven't talked my way out and there's no way for me to run for whatever reason, then that's my cue. I'm going to hit first. And the chances that I take when I do that are several. Number one, I don't know if he's packing a boot pistol or a blade. So it's not just necessarily fists and feet when I start this. And if I'm the one who started it, then I've got those considerations as well. When you hit first, you got to make it count, and we all talked about that a number of times this weekend. Your exercise earlier today was a good demonstration of how that first hit gets in, and we can direct all of our ki. Awesome. Both psychological and physical intimidation are at play here, so we train so that we don't miss, and the higher up in our training, the better our odds are, we want to believe. We do have a strike first drill that we could do, and if you already have your favorite technique or the technique you just learned that happens to be fresh on your mind, that's great. But you want to use a technique that you feel is really strong in your collection of techniques. You want to use something that is close. You want to use something that leaves you able to defend or get away or follow up. So those are all considerations. You can practice this drill from 5 feet away, where you say it's time to hit first, from 3 feet away, or toe to toe. And if you already have that 1 or 2 or 3 favorite techniques, great. If you don't, if you're like me, they continue to vary as I train and train and train. Then all's well. But go ahead and maybe use 1 or 2 of your techniques as we drill this today. Okay. So the idea is you're going to hit first, and you're going to do it in a street situation where you haven't been able to talk your way out and running's not an option. Okay? Let's go. 1 or 2 techniques that would be your go-to. All right? Logan? 1 or 2. Go ahead.
1 or 2.
Yep. Yep. Go ahead.
I'm actually inclined to just do that.
Okay. So
Maybe that's from karate.
you trapped. You go ahead. You trapped. Beautiful.
And then I'm going
and
straight
land.
to-
Okay. Trapping is awesome. He's taken my jab hand and just shoved it out of the way. It no longer matters. Even if I go to throw this cross, his is going to land before mine gets there. Beautiful. Beautiful. You got another? Say I've grabbed you.
That's my go-to.
Say okay. Say I've grabbed you. Yeah. Good. Okay.
And then
That'll work. That'll work. Good. Good. You guys have a go-to? Acute pain, and we practice combinations in our dojo. We generally will hit all 14 of these in a class, but then we'll go ahead and break up and have a class of just segments of these. And the bottom line is this, where you have 4 head targets that we work on: eye, throat, nose, and ear, and all the specifics related to those. 3 arm targets: elbow, back of hand, and finger, and we work specifics on those. 3 torso targets: groin, solar plexus, and kidney. Solar plexus is a term that's overused, but it's just below the sternum and just above the guts. And then there are 4 leg targets: the shin, the top of the foot, the toe, and the ankle bone. And we'll, rather than take all 14, each class we'll break them up. But that's the sum total. And I'll just share a little story about this acute pain thing. Number 1, a shark bite can land anywhere on the body, and the correct way to deliver a shark bite isn't just a little pinch. It's the same way you do a groin grab. You grab, twist, yank, and pull. Okay, it's at least a 3-fer. With a shark bite, it's not just the pinch that people think it is. You grab, you pull, you twist, and you draw blood. Okay, you leave a permanent etch if you need to create that kind of distraction. Lady in our hometown, elderly lady, got her name in the paper for something that she wasn't real proud of. Some guy accosted her with a gun. She had just gotten in her car and said, "Give me your pocketbook." And she said no. Not advisable, but she said no. And he reached across her driver's side. She was sitting to grab her pocketbook and run, and she leaned forward and bit the back of his arm. She didn't take a chunk out, she just drew blood. And he left with his gun and his bleeding arm, and did not get the pocketbook because he had it in his hand and she grabbed it back as he was running away.
But she has an advantage that we don't because she's non-threatening to the guy.
But, yeah,
So it's not really
yeah,
trying to shoot grandma.
Anyways, I got a big kick out of that, and I kept the paper. How to move to the aggressor's weak side. I would have loved to have taken more time on this one. Basically, getting outside the aggressor's lead hand, using parries to get outside. We know the importance of being able to get outside to gain an advantage, and we've done that a number of times this weekend. And every time we've gone and done that, I'm going, yeah, that's going to be part of where we end up on the weekend. And I've shown you earlier about parrying with either hand to get into an advantageous situation. And then the last is the chop kick. And the chop kick can be done two ways. And I have more success personally with one of them than the other. But Logan, if I may use you up here. Okay. The chop kick is a downward kick. And this is great to use when you're sparring a know-it-all, because it'll take some of the know-it-all out of them. So if somebody does this to you, maybe you're exhibiting more know-it-all than than you should be. Here we go. You ready? We're sparring, and you go ahead and throw something. I throw something. I come in with a chop kick right here. It is just above the knee, kind of like what we did with the elbow. It's a downward blow. It's not an upward blow. So when I come in, my goal is to come in and down. You see the trajectory of this right here? Logan, what does that feel like as I come across?
Kind of like a Charlie horse almost.
Kind of like a Charlie horse. And I'm pulling it. Now, it doesn't have to be there. I can deliver it on the back leg as well. Okay? The one I don't have as much luck with in sparring is this. He throws a punch, okay, and I go to hit and do a chop kick. I'm not in a good position to do it from here. So this would not be where I would do it unless I wanted to try to get it on a back leg and he had it out. So we'll go ahead and set up a situation where I could do this chop kick. Go ahead, come on. Parry, step, and kick. And this one right here, rather than being downward, is going to be upward. Upward. Okay, what does that feel like?
Slightly less painful Charlie horse, but still a Charlie horse.
Yeah, and I don't feel like the upward one and from behind has the same amount of impact in my experience, but it's still considered a chop kick. So from the front, it's downward, from the back, it's upward. And those are the 10 training for self-defense techniques, street kata, asserting yourself.
These
Yes, sir.
are all in what you'll send me to my email address I put on my
If you'd like, I can do that. Yes, yes, sir.
I'll never remember all this stuff.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I can just go through and say how I would like this, and I just move it all in your direction.
Things on the board and this stuff.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you. Again, I want to thank Sensei Kirby. I am honored, flattered, and mostly humbled that we had the opportunity. The original schedule had me presenting for 1 hour and 10 minutes on Sunday, and I just feel so blessed and fortunate to, and certainly humbled by the experience of being able to open and close this weekend. I will also say that I've been reminded time and again, but not by anybody who's told me this, but by demonstrating. Okay, I am the least ranked belt here, and I have gained so much knowledge from the upper ranked belts. I get a lot of knowledge from my students. You can learn something from everybody. My white belts, my yellow belts, my green belts, but not the kind of knowledge that I got from you guys this weekend. And I am permanently indebted to you for literally taking me under your wing. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart. It means a lot to me that you guys would take that time. Some of you pull me aside and say, let me just clarify this, or it's like, yes. So thank you very much.